Welcome to Marketplace Tech Bytes, our weekly review of the biggest stories making headlines across the industry. I'm your host, Lily Jamali. On this week's show, Tesla delivers a record number of electric vehicles. Apple stock stumbles after a downgrade from Barclays, and we look at personal tech to watch in 2024. I'm joined this week by Joanna Stern. She is the senior personal technology columnist at the Wall Street Journal. Happy New Year to you and welcome.
Happy New Year right back at you, and good to be here.
Great to have you back. So we're going to start, as always, with our Bite of the Week. This is one number that sums up the big story in tech. Joanna, what's your number?
I have two numbers. So first number is 1.8 million. That's how many cars Tesla sold in 2023. My second number is 72,000. Actually, I'll do the whole number, 72,608.
Okay.
That is how many EVs Ford sold.
That is a very small number by comparison, Joanna.
Two numbers, you do the math.
That's right. Well, we're going to leave Ford to the side for a little bit. Let's talk about that first one, 1.8 million deliveries by Tesla. Elon Musk had set a goal of 2 million deliveries for the year, so they came pretty close. And I should mention that almost 500,000 of those deliveries happened in the fourth quarter of 2023. I bring that up because that is a record for Tesla. So with the caveat that Tesla actually fell behind BYD, the Chinese competitor, which of course is backed by Warren Buffett, I wonder what you think worked for Tesla in terms of getting those deliveries out the door.
Well, certainly the price cuts helped, right? The big story in Tesla in 2023 was how aggressive they got in trimming the prices of some of those more entry-level models for them, the Model 3, the Model Y. And that became a more palatable, the prices became more palatable. I mean, I believe both are under 60K, way under 60K at this point. And that made it a much more palatable decision for people to say, okay, I'm going to try getting an EV. And I think there's this kind of phrase going around in the EV industry right now. People don't want EVs, they want Teslas. And obviously that comes down to two things. And I've talked about two things being the roadblocks for people in the EV market. One, price. Tesla got way better about that in 2023. Mm-hmm. Two, charging. Tesla has the superior charging network in the US, especially, really worldwide. And when you look at what they've done with the superchargers and the integration they have with the software, the hardware, and the service, the payment services. And so those two things, pricing, charging, made Tesla the top pick for many EV buyers.
That's right. And that was one of the key incentives was this, 6 months of access to fast charging if you picked up your delivery by the end of December. There were also the federal tax cuts while they lasted for certain Tesla models. So this year is going to be very interesting on that front. But the formula seems pretty straightforward here. They cut prices. They were able to boost sales. Of course, that's going to hurt your margins over time. So do you think this is a sustainable approach for Tesla? Because the EV market is starting to feel pretty crowded right now.
I think it's sustainable because of now the scale that Tesla has. Look, we know that those tax credits and incentives are going to go away, right? So the companies have to figure out how to manufacture these cars at a lower price that is going to let these go mainstream. That's also, I think, a little bit of the story of 2024 in EVs and also for Tesla is we've been in this early adopter race around EVs. Most people who get these are willing to embrace new technology and try new things and are excited, whether it's about the greenness of this type of tech and this investment, or because, hey, these are cool new high-tech cars and they want the coolest, highest tech, cool new thing. But now we need to move into the mainstream audience being able to get these. And so I think Tesla is well positioned, probably still the best positioned to do that.
Yeah. Well, the elephant in the room with Tesla is they're standing with federal regulators right now. Here in the US, there was this government probe that led to the recall of more than 2 million vehicles last month. This was to stop people from misusing its autopilot software. This is the driver assistance technology, not self driving, driver assistance. We got to mention that. And it sounds like the updates are not getting very good reviews. Consumer Reports, for one, said that they don't go far enough that in terms of stemming misuse and driver inattention, which was really the whole point.
Yeah, and I think this is a place where there's this mistake. As a reviewer, I think this is a mistake that people think that Tesla is far and away better on self-driving or driver assistance than some of the traditional car makers. And in my tests, and there was a great piece by Tim Stevens in TechCrunch, I believe it was over the holiday. He looked at these services from Ford, GM, Tesla, and he did not believe, and in my own testing, I did not believe Tesla has that superior feature. And part of that is the trust, right? Those systems have to be highly communicative to the driver. What is happening? What is going to happen? And let me know as we're going, as I'm turning on these systems, when are you in control? When am I in control? And that's where Tesla's fallen short. They have tried with this software update to make it clearer. I have not tested the new software update, so I can't really talk to what they've done there. But I can say, and going back to Ford, when and I got a lot of flack about it, and I believe I talked about it on the show, when it came to my decision earlier in 2023 to decide between EVs, I was very down to the Tesla and the Ford. I went with the Ford. I liked it for a few reasons above the Tesla. Certainly charging was not one of those reasons, but I did like the driver assistance better on the Ford. They
That's
have
really
something
interesting.
called, yeah, they have
and
something
you
called Blue Cruise, and it works really well.
and this is for the Mustang that you leased last year. How are things looking in terms of charging options for the year ahead as you're able to plug into some of those Tesla systems?
Yeah, I wrote about this in my year ahead, 2024 year ahead piece. I don't think it's going to change drastically how much better charging is, but I am very excited for it. Yes, this is the partnerships that many car companies or EV companies have now made with Tesla. You've got Ford, Rivian, GM, others, which will now be opened up and will be able to charge at Tesla's at not all Tesla stations, but some, many in 2024. But you'll need a special dongle. So I'm looking forward to testing this all. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I do not think it's going to be as good as pulling your Tesla into a supercharger, but it will definitely give people more options.
Well, Joanna, I wish you a year devoid of range anxiety. Here we come, 2024. We're going to move on to Apple now. The company's stock touched a 7-week low this week after analysts at Barclays downgraded Apple. I would love your read on Barclays' reasoning, given that you are in such close touch with consumers. The big concern here seems to be that demand for Apple products is just going to stay weak going forward.
Yeah, we started to see this, especially towards the end of 2023, around the annual last quarter upgrade cycle around the iPhone. And that was not as strong as it's been in past years, but predicted. People were not, this has all been sort of predicted. But this is the challenge for Apple, right? It's the iPhone, the business is built around the iPhone. It is built around the services that are connected to the iPhone. When you can't keep selling those iPhones at the rate that they have sold them, and you can't keep upgrading them at the rate that the upgrades and the technical upgrades have happened, what happens, right? What happens to the business? Apple, under Tim Cook's leadership, has just done an incredible job diversifying that, whether it be services, whether it be the integration with Mac or iPad, certainly AirPods, Watch to a degree. So they have this ecosystem of products. It keeps people in their ecosystem. I think one of the interesting things that's going to happen in 2024 is some of the breaking of the walls of that ecosystem, Apple being forced by regulators to do some things that I don't think will have a large effect on people leaving the ecosystem, but may make it easier for people to use non-Apple services.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Apple, I want to talk about a recent story that you investigated really over the last year. And the video was published a couple of weeks ago. You traveled to Minnesota and sat down with someone who is serving time for stealing iPhones and passwords, which really gave them the keys to the kingdom in a way that I really didn't comprehend until I saw your story. Access to credit cards, bank accounts, crypto wallets. What surprised you the most as you were reporting this story?
So I started reporting on this story about a year ago. And at that point, I was just shocked. I mean, I started hearing from victims, people reaching out to me because they knew I covered Apple and covered personal tech and security, and said, how could this have happened? My phone got stolen, and the next thing I notice, I'm losing thousands of dollars from my bank accounts, and I can't get back in my Apple account. And I'm thinking, huh? Like, must have
Yeah.
been some cloud hack, maybe and so me and my reporting partner here at the Journal, Nicole Nguyen, started digging into this, and we realized, wow, these thieves are stealing the phones and the passcodes, and the passcode being the number of the digits you put on the outside of the phone to get in.
Hmm.
Sometimes Face ID fails and you've got to put that passcode in. And so once you've got that passcode in iOS, you can really unlock everything if a user has set things up that way, which is no fault of the user. Apple encourages it. You put your passwords into Apple iCloud. Well, what unlocks iCloud? Your passcode. You want to change the password to your Apple ID account that has all your photos and videos and notes. Well, how do you change that password? Well, you use your passcode. And so thieves somehow, still don't know how they all figured this out. Clearly, good news to them or bad news travels fast. And across the country, people have been carrying out these crimes. And I've heard from hundreds of victims over the last year.
Yeah, and Apple did make some changes in response to your investigation.
Yes, in December, they announced something called stolen device protection. And this is something that will come out in iOS 17.3, probably in a couple of weeks or months now. And you'll have to turn this on, but it will protect you if you're out of your house or at a place that you're not usually at. And it will make making changes to that Apple ID a lot harder. So it means that if a thief were to steal your phone at a bar, where this is often happening, that person who got your phone wouldn't then be able to use the passcode to do a certain amount of things. They've put up a few roadblocks to that.
Yeah. Also, do not store your passwords in your notes app, people. That was one of my big takeaways from
It's
your.
so funny how many people have said that to me, that
Yeah.
being one of the big takeaways. So I'm
It's
really
like,
happy
how
we kept that
obvious
in.
is that now in retrospect? But yeah, it's a really important tip. Thank you for that extraordinary work. Great reporting. Thanks, Joanna. We're going to stick with personal tech for our final topic. As we move into 2024, what's going to be the hot personal tech? I'm dying to know what you are most looking forward to on that front.
I mean, to bring it back to Apple, I am very excited to get my hands on the Vision Pro, and that is the mixed reality headset they announced in They announced it in June of 2023, and said would be available in early 2024. And so I've long covered this space of virtual reality headsets and augmented reality headsets, and it's not been a space that has gone mainstream. I don't expect this to be a mainstream product. It's priced at $3,500, and we don't yet quite know what you're going to want to use this thing for. But I think that's what's exciting about this, is that it's the start of this journey. Tim Cook has said that what they're calling spatial computing, putting on this headset, being able to see your windows and apps and take photos with this thing, is the start of what they think is the future of computing. So
Yeah.
I would say I'm excited about that. I don't think it's going to make, as we were saying, it's not going to make a huge dent in Apple's sales or stock price. And I don't think it's meant to. It's not meant to. This is them saying, hey, we're looking towards the future. What comes after the iPhone?
And we have to talk about AI as well. There were these photos of a bull walking on train tracks in New Jersey that went viral. Listen, seeing weird stuff on the train in New Jersey is part of the experience. I know I have been on NJ Transit, but this one really stumped people as we were trying to figure out whether they were AI generated or real. Are we going to have better tech help to help us sort through that?
I think that's the hope. I mean, I think that's the story of the next year, is that we, in our minds, as we've gotten used to these AI tools and you see the crazy and almost super real things they can create, you see something that you think is real and you think, well, that has got to be AI. I mean, that's truly how I feel when I saw that AI, or sorry, I saw the bull. It was a real bull on the train tracks in New Jersey. And so this year, what we're hearing from companies is that they are trying to work on technology to make it clear what is the real original source of these images. And so there's the arguments coming from companies like Adobe that are leading a new type of standard, and others, that what needs to happen is we need to have transparency around every image that we see on the internet.
Yeah.
So that means if I take a photo on my iPhone, well, then we know that that's a photo from the iPhone. Of course, for this to happen, we need lots of people to buy in. I think we're going to see more people buy in, more companies, more platforms buy into that this year. One other thing that OpenAI has promised is a way to tell if images made by their image generator, DALL-E, are AI generated. So I hope we see that this year. But
yeah,
I think
a lot.
we're going to still be fooled.
Yeah, it's going to be a big issue, especially because this is an election year. So more to come on that. Joanna, it is always so much fun to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Joanna Stern, senior personal technology columnist at the Wall Street Journal. Thanks to all of you for watching Marketplace Tech Bytes Week in Review. Jesus Alvarado produced this episode, and I'm Lily Jamali. This is 8 p.m.